It's time we wise up and rise up, people. This is Brotha Ra, and you tuned in to Conscious Conversation. We back. Wholeness, balance, and love, people. This is Brotha Ra, and I would like to welcome you all to another episode of Conscious Conversations. This is your podcast to stay woke, find your balance, and elevate your consciousness to a higher level. Got to give my gratitude, my appreciation to all of you who are tuning in right now. I love you with all my heart. I appreciate y'all. And just want to give a special shout out this episode to all the young kings and queens at Asbury Park High School. I know someone might be listening, so if you are, this one is for you. Now, what we getting into today, people, we going to talk about as above, so below, yin and yang, my higher self, my lower self, my physical nature, and my spiritual nature, and why it's important to recognize both aspects of our being in order for us to live life in harmony and maintain our balance. So before we do that, it's time for that mindful minute, and the goal of this meditation is to really help you begin to discover who you are. And how we're going to do that is we're going to empty our mind within our body and our breath to help us remain still and to experience something that is real. So to do that, step one is let's bring our body into a state of relaxation by learning to use our awareness of our breath and our body. So let's get in a good position. If you're sitting down in the chair, you're in your car, bring your mind over towards the tailbone and the hips and just feel that area out for a moment. Whenever I feel my physical body, it makes my mind present. Whenever my mind is present, I let go of those thought patterns of the past or the future that create my stress and anxiety. And now feel your feet wherever they are, pressed against the ground, laying on the bed, and feel them on the ground. Feel them against the gas pedal or the brake, and allow yourself just to connect to that awareness. We're just training our mind to be present. And lastly, move that mind over towards the back. We're going to make sure that we feel. How do I know my spinal cord exists? What does that feel like? What happens when I move around? Can I straighten it up a little more? Let your mind dive into those sensations. And now begin to move the awareness. Take a nice, deep, exaggerated breath in here. Try to bring that air into the stomach. Let's hold, 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 hold. Exhale nice and fast. Inhale nice and deep. We're going to hold here. Let's feel the body. Hold here. Can I feel where that breath is at? Hold here. Exhale nice and soft. And relax. And that's about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. And just ask yourself, how do I feel right now? You know, how did I feel beforehand? What was that experience like? And is this something that could possibly benefit me if I put more time in? I don't know, you tell me, but I know what it does for me. So I appreciate your time for trying that mindful minute out. And I hope you could dive a little bit deeper into your practice of checking out one of our mindful meditation sits on our podcast. Now we're going to get into this episode, man. It's a little quick disclaimer, as always, realizing that when you listen to this podcast, I promise you, your mind is not going to be the same. You might perceive things on a different level. It's just something that you want to be aware of. So if you don't want to grow, turn it off right now. So let's begin. Harry Potter, Muggles versus the Wizards. This is an interesting, I know the universe is beautiful because when I was in 7th grade, my mother put me on punishment. I couldn't watch TV, play video games for one summer. I couldn't do nothing. And my brother had this book that he would not put down, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I remember I never really liked to read, but when I opened up those pages, it just transformed my whole entire life. You know, it took me into a completely different world, perceiving a magical experience, and it just sucked me in. And I literally read the first 3 books of that series in one summer and would buy every book that was released from that point forward. And little did I know back then, you know, how deeply intertangled. That book spoke about metaphysics, it talked about spirituality and philosophy of Eastern and different modern societies till I got older. But having that planted in my subconscious mind, it opened up my spirit to recognize how powerful that book was if you truly understand the hidden meanings and messages of all that beautiful art. Now, why am I bringing up the world of Harry Potter? Is realizing that it is a reflection and metaphor for our world today. If you aren't familiar, they have a group of people called the Muggles, which can be connected to who we have as human beings or people who go 9 to 5, are just aware of what's happening inside this matrix in our world today. And then you have the other side of those folks who are the wizards, the witches, the magicians, and the sorcerers, and that is the hidden side. And it's kind of like those people today who are very spiritual, who practice metaphysics, who go into different practices that open them up to a higher state of awareness. And that is what they're painting for you right there, that the Muggles have no clue that there's this hidden magical world. They're only aware of their physical nature, their lower self. But the wizards and witches are aware of their higher nature and how to tap into that while in this physical body. Okay, so we're going to transition Harry Potter, that little taste of the Muggles versus the wizards, and we're going to take things back to ancient Kemet, and we're going to break down this thing called the Tree of Life. And in the Jewish culture, it could be compared to the Kabbalah, but when you realize this knowledge, nothing really predates ancient Kemet when it comes to information in regards to higher truth, from India to Greek to Romans to where we have things today in the New Age moment. All those are passed along from what was coming from the core of this earth, which is the homeland of Africa. And in ancient Kemet, they had this Kemetic tree of life as a blueprint to guide an individual to rise into higher states of consciousness. And they created certain steps on this tree of life to demonstrate certain past and individual characteristics you may experience. And one of these deities or goddesses is known by the name of Nephet, and she is the goddess of mortality. She is the goddess that represents this physical world, this material world, and it relates to all those things that satisfy your desire in this material existence. And knowing who she is the sister of what most people know the goddess Isis, or the more pure name Aset, which is the goddess of wisdom. And these two are identical. And in order for us to rise into Isis, Nephet has to die. And when we say by dying, it doesn't mean literal death. It means that you as an individual have to die to this material world. You have to let go of this physical reality, because when you start to recognize that you are never going to experience true happiness looking in the world, not literally dying physically, but dying at a mental level and beginning to have that resurrection and taking yourself into that realm of spirit. But you first must gain the knowledge, Isis, in order to evolve. Because a lot of us are just stuck as a Muggle. We're stuck in this physical existence. We're aware of what this physical body has. We know exactly how it, to an extent, how it operates. But when I seek my happiness in the world, I'm always going to end up forming a little bit of suffering. I'm never going to feel complete. I get my new cell phone. I love it. It's amazing. A couple weeks later, my cell phone breaks. What happened to my happiness? I have a beautiful girlfriend. I have a beautiful fiance. I have a beautiful wife. She breaks my heart. Or maybe eventually she ends up passing away from old age. What happens to my happiness if I had and found my happiness in her? I buy a new vehicle. I buy a new car. Next thing you know, it might get totaled, or it might get a little dented or wear apart. What happened to my happiness? And we could repeat this over and over again, because this physical world is a world of impermanence. Nothing that we see here is going to last forever in the physical plane. Because whenever I find my happiness in this world, always understand that it will only be temporary. Nothing here will last forever. That is why it is important that Harry Potter became aware that he was also a wizard, aka a metaphysician, and that is those who are aware of the world of the unseen. And when you gain the wisdom that is needed to become aware of your higher self, Aset or Isis, that leads you to become aware that, yeah, I have a physical body, but there's so much more to that. Just like you look at a block of ice, when that ice turns to water, that ice cube did not die. That ice cube just transformed into its next stage of existence. When that water evaporated into air, into gas, that water didn't die. It just moved on to its next stage of existence. And that is that higher understanding when you take that journey as a metaphysician, as someone that's taken the time to be aware of their internal self. And you start to recognize that, man, there's many layers to my being. And death, that's the illusion. Nothing can be destroyed or born. Everything is always at a constant state of existing. And the most important aspect of all this, it eliminates your suffering when you start to realize your totality, because the biggest reasons for our suffering is, number one, forgetting who I am, and realizing that I am a divine being. I have the essence of all life operating within me, and having the wrong thinking thoughts that create patterns of emotions and feelings that tend to keep me dragged down, that tend to keep me at a place where I'm not satisfied with myself. Because in order for us to truly end our suffering, we must experience and discover our complete being from within. So this is not going to be a long one today, but just to make you realize the importance of not just being aware of your physical nature, but taking the time to become aware of your higher nature, that spiritual part of your being. And my quote for today is from the Harry Potter book. They don't have the actual individual who it's from, but it says, "Don't let the Muggles bring you down." Okay, as you on this journey of waking up, people going to call you crazy. People going to say what's wrong with you. People going to call you all different things. And it's okay, because they just don't understand what you're experiencing. But the more you begin to wise up, the more you begin to rise up, you begin to see through this matrix and all those traps that keep us held back, and the programs that are put in place for them to keep you from taking that next step to evolve. Because they don't want you to wake up, but they can't stop that from happening. Because we have to see that, is Harry Potter just a story? Or if I read into, I see these movies, not saying we all got a wand, we're going to start zapping things out, but look at it from a more of a different perspective of how it relates to how there's a side of occultism, there's a side of magic and Freemason and secret societies that dabble in these things that are not talked about in the open, And again, how much is the soul balanced in both worlds? You know what I'm saying? We have to use these physical bodies, but we can't lose sight of our spiritual selves, and vice versa. We can't be stuck in the spiritual being without utilizing this temple to experience this life around us. And that is when we begin to have that resurrection within our higher self and take you to that next step on your journey. So I say this, folks, man. No one in this world can control your peace. No one in this world can control your happiness, your sadness, your joys, your pains, except you. And the only way that's going to happen is by you taking the time to take that journey within. It's to find that peace. It's to find that balance by discovering and dissolving all those things around you that are not supporting you on your journey, and connecting to those things that are going to enhance you on all levels, body, mind, and soul. Okay, a couple quick announcements. Once again, if you try and get a little hustle out here, got a whip past 2007, 4 doors, and you trying to make a little bit more, check out my Lyft driving code. Get $500 in your first 120 rides in 30 days at Rodney, all caps, RODNEY, 47729. Again, Rodney, 47729. Teach yoga at Yoga Plus Herbs in Marlboro, New Jersey every Wednesday night. Gentle yoga at 7 p.m. and Thursday night power yoga at 7 p.m. And that is a little cost, of course, but support the boys. Check out what work, find some balance. And lastly, check out my nonprofit organization, Konscious.org, Konscious with a K. Check out the essence of what I'm truly trying to give my heart and soul to, and try to raise the consciousness of the communities through tokens of yoga, meditation, mindfulness, healthy nutrition, character development, bringing the community together. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a positive review. I truly appreciate the love and your time. Now, make sure that we take the time to wise up, to rise up, and tune in the next episode to get exactly what it is you need to stay woke and live connected. Wholeness and love, and I wish you all a beautiful day.